All right. Hello. We are live with the Lucy Brown and her
Hello.
new book. Hello, Lucy. Her new book. Her new book is Hate. What's it called again?
Hate Club.
Hate Club?
Hate Club.
Hate Club. Sorry. Right. I was going to say hate speech. I got confused. Sorry. Yeah. Hate Club. Hate Club. And it's a, when I first started reading, I was just telling her I thought it was a novel, but it's actually a tell-all autobiography about her life
Mm.
in this political nonsense scene who you kind of disavow, I think, in a certain sense, but you, like the rest of us, you keep getting yanked back into it. And
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, I guess. But anyways, that's what we're here to talk about is your book. And I skimmed through it, and it seems very good, very interesting. A lot of gossip, or not gossip. What do you say? You know, from your perspective, how things went down. As you just said to me before we went live, you felt you've been written out of the history of some of the stuff that went on. So you wanted to say from your perspective. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of warts and all, and I guess because I've now surpassed the amount of like Twitter followers I had back then, and my boyfriend was like, "Well, revenge is just living well, isn't it? That's what people say." And I just think that I just get a lot of people sometimes go, "Oh, you're like a new face on the scene. Do you want to come on a podcast?" I'm an old face. I'm an old past the wall, hit the wall face of like being around the block, and like I know a lot of these people far too well. I've got beef all over the shop. I've got a whole butcher's worth of beef with most of the British right wing. But
Mm.
but yeah, I like I said, I was kind of written out of recent history. But if you watch any of Tommy Robinson's stuff, he's always banging on about panodrama, and I guess it's kind of the story behind that about the fact that I was the girl in the documentary, and he's always kind of saying he's always telling the story a bit wrong, and it kind of pisses me off, and he always makes himself sound like the hero, and so I was like, right, finally got this book out. I so didn't nearly it nearly didn't happen because it's kind of embarrassing putting a book out. Like it's kind of cringe, and you're exposing yourself a bit, and especially the right wing are very harsh. They can be very cutting. So oh god, do you want to open yourself up to that? But I'm glad it's done. It's nice. It's nice now I can say I'm an author. You know.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, it's great fun doing that. I mean, and
Yeah.
to go right into an autobiography. I mean, it sounds egotistical, I guess, but it is good that you did because you were directly involved in all that shit, and you were. I didn't know you actually that I didn't know myself that you wrote this that you were actually. I had no idea that you were so involved with him and that whole crew. I just remember
Yeah.
you. I remember you from some interviews and the media stuff you were doing yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I knew you were had some business with all that, but I didn't know how deeply entrenched you were, or like that he was. There's nothing you say about, say, Tommy Robinson about his character and what he's doing that I don't think I would be able to guess. It's very, it is, isn't it? Although you yourself got pulled in, it sounds like you were sort of fooled a little, or he charmed you in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Are
seen it.
go
Everyone
on. Yeah.
has this sort of initial thing with him of like, oh, this guy's been hard done by. I believed, especially in Britain, I believe the media. Even Russell Brand, I think, has just been out with him in America, right? And he was like, I believed this, and this about you. And he really was kind of our bogeyman over here for a long, long time. So it was, I think it's when you have that initial surprise that he's not like this big far right Nazi that the media paints him as, and oh, actually, he's quite charismatic and funny, and quite good company in the pub, and that's all quite interesting, and yeah, like I basically I don't I've got so many issues with him, but I kind of also wanted to capture that, like the fact that there is a reason why he's popular, there's a reason why he has a lot of followers, and there's this kind of sheen of like, he's just like a funny lad that gets away with a lot. He's kind of a Jack Sparrow. He pisses people off, but they let him off the hook, and that's like his character. But there's a lot of darkness and stuff behind it that I just think I didn't want to like take him down because there's no taking him down. People have been trying to take him down for years and he just keeps bouncing back up. So that's not going to happen. But it's nice to, like I said, write myself back in, explain who I am a little bit and what happened and who I was at that time, and just kind of also document that moment in British history because it's very specific here, the attacks that we had, and just the quickness that the kind of culture war stuff came at us, just kind of post Blair. And I kind of in the back of my head, I was like, what would my left-wing friend think, because I kind of went AWOL as far as they were concerned. I disappeared, went a bit grumpy for a couple of months, disappeared, came back in the news working for Tommy Robinson, and I didn't ever explain to them like what the journey was like. So I was trying to explain what it was like going from a left-wing bubble and seeing all these people around me being, like I said, being arseholes, and being actually really racist towards white people. Yeah, and just kind of being
So
like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, well, we all undergo that journey. So you got thrown headfirst into that kind of, it's a surprising little journey when you realize sort of the truth of what's going on, I guess. But I remember that when I first saw you, it was a video. I think it was actually a Millennial Woes. Someone interviewed you, and it was like that. You were kind of like a normal girl. This is like a long time ago when I first heard it, let's say. And you were like a normal girl who was brave enough in your ability to say things and make your assumptions and things, but you were getting there was a crankiness where you were kind of like you at the same time, like, how do I describe it? Like, I just remember you were innocently falling into this world, I guess, in a certain way, but you're forthright and truthful about it, and you wanted to retain your normal girlness as well.
That's it. I didn't want to, because I see this happen a lot, put a MAGA hat on, get a push-up bra, you're now a MAGA girl, and that's your whole personality. And a lot of girls get into it, and this becomes like very quickly they just do all the things that everyone does. I'm going to go to this, fucking no-goes, pardon me, but I'm going to go to this no-go zone and interview Muslims and stuff, and that's going to be my whole thing. But in my head, I was like, I would be an idiot if I don't retain some kind of like I need to keep my foot on the ground a little bit and like keep some of my normal friends and not fall too far down into this. And then I just kept finding that anytime I was trying to make, work on projects after Tommy as well, like work on projects with people in the right wing, it just evolved into kind of people taking your politeness as like a sign of romantic interest, for example. So that was frustrating, and like everything would just flop every time I tried to do. I tried to do documentary work. I tried to do an online sort of right-wing art magazine, and all these kind of things, and they always just fell through because
because your partner was romantically you would have male partners, and they would.
Yeah, well, I think it's just what happens if you're a bit of a masculine girl that's quite work orientated, and you're happy to just sit and chat on the phone for ages about like these big concepts, and we should do this and we should do that. And I do think that there's like a kind of, I don't know, type of guy that maybe doesn't get out much. And so to me, I was always very social, and like from a very social background and very liberal background, and maybe also didn't have very strict boundaries set up just in my head. So I'm like, oh, if you're nice to people and you explain yourself, and everything will be fine. It's like, no, like you're basic. I never quite got on with them. So like even now, I agree with so many things, but there's a few people have been, oh, do you want to come to these drinks? Do you want to come to a meetup? I'm like, no, no way.
You're done.
I'm fine.
You're done with the meetups. I did read the account. I did read the account in your book of you went on a hike with Marklet and that was very much like the interview I saw, where you're just like, okay, I'll do this, why not? And along the way, all of a sudden, Mark wakes you up with 10 pots and pans, and he starts giving a speech about Jews or something, and you're just like, oh,
banging on
okay,
about
so
the white race. But it was all stuff that I'd heard before, but I was just a bit like, just why are you saying this to me as if you're a YouTube video? Like, I'm a person and I'm tired. Like, why are you just banging on about Jews first thing in the morning?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine. It's nice when people are normal or try to be normal, I guess. But then, if you're having this romantic problem, I mean, every man is potentially on the take with a. We shouldn't put it that way, but
it's definitely there's definitely a problem where I think if you're like a single girl that leans to the right, you're going to do a lot better than a single guy that leans to the right. It's going to be a lot harder if you're a guy. So probably when you meet someone that is agreeing with you on stuff, you're like, the Lego meme where he gets the love eyes and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of guys just have that, and Sarah Stock, recent example, went through the exact same kind of trajectory at lightning speed.
Yeah. Big Christian.
One of us. Straight into the brick wall.
Were you big on the religion? I don't think you were, like, because you seem more like sort of a hip art person who just wanted to do arty things. That's my impression. I don't know.
I'm kind of like a private Christian. Like I'm not. I'm a lazy Christian, to be honest. But like I do I do believe in God. I have, Jesus stuff around my house. I'm just a general, like, yeah, God's there, and I'm sort of, yeah, I don't even know what you call it, but yeah, I'm not any kind of strict denomination or anything like that. But I am, my son, I want to get christened.
You're not like
And
a evangelical Christian Zionist or
I'm not a
anything like that.
fucking Zionist, but, but yeah,
Yeah, well, that's
I'm
good.
just a Christian by default. I think it's just a very British thing, isn't it? You're just raised going to church and stuff.
Well, you have, like, even on the back of the book, you have an image of like cocaine lines, and there's this whole kind of the party scene with Lauren Southern and all this.
Well, I
mentioned.
wanted to do a cocaine swastika, but I think I was a bit worried about Amazon, the KDP thing. I'm surprised I got the cocaine on it, to be honest, but there you go.
Oh, that is hilarious. Yeah, that would have been great. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
have been
yeah.
scandal. That would have
But
been
there
scandal.
was, yeah, so like for those that haven't read the book, there's obviously a lot of talk of drink and drugs, and we smoked like a bajillion fags in it. And I was sort of umming and ahhing when I was writing, like, do I include the fact that I dabbled a bit here and there? I think I was stoned half the book as well. But I thought, well, if I'm being warts and all about everyone else, I should at least be honest about myself. I mean, as a breakup happens, and and yeah, I don't come across great myself several times, but I thought it was important to like include that because this world does that. Suddenly you're on a pedestal. It's funny going from like a normie, and I think I've seen that's the thing. I've seen so many people now go through this roller coaster. If you're a normie, maybe you go viral for something, and then you get love bombed by all these patriots, and they're following you, and they're like, "Oh, she's great, she's great," and then you do one thing, or someone exposes you, and suddenly you're just crashing, and then you crash out and go offline for maybe even forever. And yeah, it's a funny world because it's suddenly you're online with people who, yeah, some of them are really hardcore Christian, some of them are Muslim, some of them are this, some of them are that, and some of them are really good researchers, and they'll go and find every little tidbit of information about you from before you even were political in any way.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to go through that, I think, because you're like, I'm just here because I just want my country back in the, in the most basic possible way. I just don't like the terrorism and I want to stop it. But now suddenly I'm being, having weirdos follow my mum on Facebook, and I don't really know what to do about that. So it's a weird
You got
world, and
that. Yeah.
yeah, Hate Club is kind of trying to navigate that world, trying to meet people and just take them at face value, but everyone's kind of playing like a little game, and they're like, oh, can I use her for my group, um but yeah, oh
So
god, it was
what was the most depth of access you got into in that whole? Was there, like, if there was a huge party scene, like, because I've heard some of the exploits of Lauren Southern, for instance, and it sounds like there was a lot going. There was a lot of like fucking
yeah, there was a
Destiny and these
crossover.
weird people. Like, what's that?
There was a crossover with when she came to Britain, and I don't know if you remember, she got banned from Britain, and that was because of a video that we all did together going to Luton, and we put up a stall that said Allah is gay, and it was like an LGBT
Ooh, I didn't know that.
stall.
Jesus,
Um,
lucky we're killed.
yeah, but it was Martin Selner and Brittany Selner at their peak as well, where they were just sort of not quite married yet, and there was this real kind of collaboration going on across Europe and the States and Canada and Britain. And I suppose it was like the beginnings of this kind of wider international a group of patriots, I guess you could say, or people that were kind of more. There was like the counter jihad movement of the past, and they were slowly morphing in within the generation identity, kind of more nationalist side of things. Obviously, now people are saying ethno nationalist, which is a dodgy word, like people are saying, should we even use the word ethno nationalist? I don't think we should anymore, but at the time it was, yeah, there was just a bunch of people, and we were all slowly realizing that, oh, we're actually, have ethnicities as well, and that, yes, there's terror attacks, but there's also this replacement going on, the migration stuff. But then that was all serious, and then there was just a lot of
I was
drinking.
hoping for some of the I was hoping for some of the party time dirt, though, the crazy
Sorry,
behavior
the
and the
party
drugs.
time dirt. So there was that was happening. And then on the flip side, as I write about in the book, on the flip side, there's these gay producers that were me and Tommy worked with, these two gay guys, and Tommy Robinson. That was our weird little group.
I remember hearing about this. Yeah, the two gay guys.
And they
right,
drag
yeah.
us out. They drag us out, and they drag out Generation Identity activists out to like Soho, to like a gay bar. just like, because to us it was normal, and these guys were like, one of them was nearly sick. One of them got a taxi like that probably cost him like over $100 all the way out of London back to the countryside because he was so scared about these guys dancing in jock straps. So I don't know. I feel like some people might just be disgusted by that, but we just found it funny. It was like this kind of like inversive thing of, on the one hand, we're doing all this serious stuff and the media calling us Nazis. On the other hand, we're going to go out on the piss with like a trans person, and we're going to go to a gay bar. And I think Tommy
we all
ended
have
up
this kind of
going
thing.
to
Yeah,
a gay bar.
that's funny.
Tommy used to like
There's a-
going to gay bars because there was no Muslims there.
What? No. Oh, it
There's
wasn't
no
for other
Muslims.
reasons, was it? Are you sure that's the reason?
I'm pretty sure, but yeah. So because I guess
You're pretty
otherwise
sure.
he'd have to keep his head on a
Tell me,
swivel.
like, so you still have like a semi-favorable opinion of him, Frank? Don't you? Frankly, I mean, you kind of like.
No,
or am I wrong? Oh, you don't. Okay, what?
I think he's made some very poor decisions. I just find him a bit like, what are you doing? And he said some really like nasty stuff. Since the book's come out, he tried to
Towards you?
write some really nasty personal stuff. He deleted it, but it was very, very personal, very upsetting. And he's obviously got his like line about me that he's been putting out for a very long time, which is, it's only since I've put this book out, but apparently I was head over heels besotted with him and obsessed with him, and I'm a buddy boiler, and I'm also some kind of sexual deviant and all this kind of stuff. So,
well, did you ever have any? I didn't see anything in the book. Was there ever a little romance there at all, or anything like that?
I got.
No?
I mean, he Elijah Schaefered me. He passed me a bunch of shots and tried it on, and then I, stopped it before anything happened, basically. But,
and that was it. And that was it.
And that was it.
And then you're the bunny boy.
Yeah, but I think it's just a go-to. That's why I've got a bit of a gripe with him, because I'm just like, it's a very boring thing to just reduce a girl down because it's a girl. Obviously, she's in love with me. She's obsessed, and that's why. And she's mentally ill. So that's been like what a lot of people have been have had in the back of their heads about me for a while. And it's just, again, this world of the right wing.
Hold on, are you saying you're mentally ill? Are you mentally ill? Or...
Of course I am, but not like not in that way.
Of course you are. Okay.
I'm still good at remembering stuff. This is the problem that all of these people probably have, is that I'm quite good at remembering stuff.
Okay, what's your diagnosis? Do you really have a issue? Bipolar or something? No. You're just joking about being.
I think I'm just a millennial girl, to be honest. I think that's.
Oh, okay, good. No. Okay, good, great. Sorry, I thought you were saying you really had fucking some.
No,
I wouldn't think you did, but.
No, but he tried to.
Pardon me.
I was like an emo girl when I was younger. He tried to bring up some fucking self-harm scars, as if me being 13, listening to Linkin Park, doing a bit of experimenting, has anything to do with this book.
Oh, the self-harm. I remember I had a girlfriend doing the self-harm bullshit. I rember that when I was 20 something. It was fucking,
my goth route. It was, it was a pastime for the goths.
Yeah. No, it seems like you're like a normal English good time girl.
Well, yeah. Before, what do we have now? It's Facebook and stuff. But before that, we had like Vampire Freaks, the website, and there would be pictures. People would put up pictures of like black lipstick and like blood. They'd be like, look at me, like posing with razor blades. It was all that kind of stuff. Oh God, it's so cringe. It's so cringe.
Yeah. But I appreciate that. I appreciate the humanity of like those stories of like, I hate when people put on the false front and then behind the scenes, everybody does know groups of people, and there's like gay people or maybe the odd transgender, or they're like something that doesn't fit in with the whatever they're presenting as. I'm Mr. Christian, this and that. That's why I avoid that too. Like, you have to just be human and have these opinions is good. But even Tommy, I guess Tommy doesn't present a fake front necessarily, because he does seem like an Egypt, and he is an Egypt. But like he doesn't. I believe some of his beliefs are fake. Use like the Zionist stuff. We maybe shouldn't get into it, but you know what I mean. Like I do think he's taking money to have that view, and I think it's obvious to maybe he really has it. I don't know, but he does have these.
Just juggling. He's juggling a lot, and he's I think quite secretive. I mean, even when we were working together, they're just like, who is that guy that you just met, and who's this, and what's that, and it's just a very secretive kind of guy. And you're like, I don't know what it's taken for you to get from where you were to here. I don't know if there are deals that you've made, or that special interests or whatever. I don't know.
How did he get so huge? Because he was like a regular kind of guy, like any of us at first.
Well, I was looking back at the beginning of the book. I kind of jumped all the way back to, I think it's 2009 when the EDL first started, and I started off with a funny story that was told to me by Parake O'Brien, who's a journalist over here. I think he was doing a story, and then he was doing a story about Andrew Tate. We went for a pint, and then I mentioned this book I was writing, and he was like, "Fuck Tate, this is way more interesting." He was like, "I remember when I interviewed Tommy Robinson when he was first coming out on the scene, and he had this swastika flag, and he couldn't set it on. He was trying to set it on fire for our cameras to show that he wasn't a Nazi, but the lighter wouldn't work." And he was like, "It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen." So 2009 was when the EDL was like, kind of broke onto the scene. And if you read his book, Enemy of the State, it kind of goes into the background there. And it was due to, I think in Luton, there was a bunch of people that were protesting soldiers returning home from, I think, the Iraq War or something. And there's a bunch of Muslims that were just saying like burn in hell and all this kind of stuff. And I think it was the beginning of people, especially football lads, seeing the two-tier policing going on. And they would just start going out and saying, right, we're going to go to Whitechapel, we're going to go and protest there, we're going to say this is our country, this is our flag, and we've got mosques popping up everywhere, terrorism popping up. So that's where he came up. He was like the leader of this street movement, and then he had a kind of fall from grace. He ended up leaving the movement, supposedly going to prison and getting pretty much pressured by the establishment to say stop doing this. And then Majid Nawaz, from the Quilliam Foundation, I think, picked him up and was like, did some press junket with him saying, right, he's a centrist now, he's going to work with us against all forms of terrorism, blah blah blah, he's going to be a centrist. That didn't work. And then we come along around 2017, I think, and as I kind of mentioned, he was kind of retired, he wasn't really a big name anymore. He was doing videos for Rebel Media out of his garage, and he met me, these two gay guys, and we'd just been watching these SJW cringe type videos, and we'd met through kind of pushing back in our own social circles. I was going to like the Red Pill film screening. I don't know if you remember Cassie J's film. I was going to stuff like that.
I don't know anything. I never saw that. No.
Yeah,
Can I just ask?
It was like
let me just ask this because I'm just curious. The two gay guys, like, what was their background? Where were they from exactly? Since they
were just kind of like upper middle class British guys who, one of them was a former Facebook celebrity called Kaylin Robertson, who's now fucking Ukraine journalist in Ukraine, and George, who he had like a background managing photography studios and being in the fashion industry, fashion world, and again he was very much in the kind of gay trans club kid kind of scene.
Ooh,
so they were just talented, and Kaylin would be the reporter, and George would go out of the camera.
Were they rich? Were they? I thought they were the money behind this. Is that wrong? They weren't.
No, they were.
No, okay.
I see. I think George especially came from money. They were good at feigning being rich, but I don't think they were rich. I think they got, they made money where they could, but they were very good at like putting on a good front. But I think we were all a bit struggling. I was on minimum wage. They were like getting by. But yeah, they were just starting to go out and ironically film the Women's Day protest, which it's International Women's Day today.
Yes,
Women's Day.
Women's rights. Women's rights.
It was just that beginning of like Trump being like the boogeyman, and over here they were protesting in Trafalgar Square for it, and so Kaylin was going out being this presenter, George doing the filming, and then they just happened to be putting together a YouTube channel. They interviewed Tommy for it. We all got on together pretty well. And we were all just hanging out at the time, and then so
you would say the growth. You would say the growth was organic. Then it wasn't a major money push thing. It was like
nope. It was totally organic. Right. I think that was what was quite nice about it, because since then, I just feel like the right is a different beast now. But since then, back then, sorry, it was just a bunch of people that were like, we need to fix this. We need to expose what's being done in the country, and Tommy seems like a good battering ram to do that with, because he comes with his own audience as well. Yeah. So we do good work with him. We do some really well shot stuff and go viral and everything, and his followers go up and the message gets out. That was basically the thinking of it.
All right. So that's when he went, and that's when Tommy went meteoric, you would say, is it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I would say so. He had a kind of a second wind. Hope Not Hate, who I'm sure most of your audience probably know who that is, but there's anti-hate organization, who
Yeah.
he'd been like their enemy for ages, and I guess they were like, oh shit, he's back. So that was fun. So we inherited them as our enemies as well, and they were looking into us, you know, who are these gay guys and this random blonde girl, like who are they? And it just became like this little operation for like a couple of years. Not even that, year and a half.
And so you were, what was your role in this operation? Would you say you're like Tommy's manager liaison, or like what was your role
maid? I
Really?
don't know what I do. I would like do
Fetch my drink, get my drink.
Yeah, I do sort of like production ideas, bouncing around ideas, doing a bit of filming, bit of editing. I was like learning on the job from George, who was like a much better filmer. I was more of a photographer, so film is obviously a different kettle of fish, isn't it? But yeah, it was just filming and production and writing notes, and I don't know, keeping an eye on things.
Oh,
and
okay.
saying,
So you were doing all your media stuff that you like to do, anyways. You were actually working in your field.
Yeah,
despite it being
no,
like
it was
right-wing
interesting.
lunacy.
It was kind of cool going from working fashion post-production, where I was archiving, you know, magazine covers, and doing like post-production, like retouching and stuff like that, and then being able to transfer those skills. But then the motive behind it was, we're going to fix Britain, so it became really exciting to like use those skills and learn new ones really, really quickly, like how to use video editing and stuff, and just get on the ground and just do it. Yeah, no, it was all right. I wasn't great, I'll be honest. It was a struggle. It's hard.
Well,
Yeah.
I just feel that was always your interest, was to, and even then, so like even your other magazines, you were saying your online magazine stuff, or are you going to resume something like that, do you think, or like
Maybe
I know
one
that's
day.
kind of
I mean, do you know what I like? I like the organizing stuff. I feel like maybe you're the same. I like the admin back end sort of web design or editing or clipping stuff, and interviews, like writing interview questions for people and like researching. I love all of that stuff. I think filming, you just have to really want to do filming, and I don't think I really wanted to do it. And photography is a lot easier. Like for filming, you've got to have all the lighting's got to be perfect, and if there's a problem, you can't go back and reshoot it, and that's a pain in the ass. And I'm, you know, maybe I'm lazy, but I just found it already jarring. Whereas you take a picture, you could just fix it. You can fix it afterwards. It's,
right,
if
yeah.
it's bad. But anyway, it's
Like
it's like production.
Right, and so, but do you feel you're always going to be pigeonholed into doing something associated with the right wing then, or that you could just do pure fashion, or I don't know. I guess you're older now. You're like a mother now, so you don't really want. You're not going to be as into the whole current fucking thing as you
exactly.
were.
The door's kind of shut on fashion anyway. I think you know, it's like your one Google.
The door's shut. Yeah, it's fucking.
You got
is.
one Google.
I'm looking at the Paris Fashion Week stuff, and it's just these like aliens and like heavy makeup and
see,
crazy
that I
shit.
actually like.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Fecal Matter is the name of the designer, and the guy that did the makeup is Elliot Rent, who I used to fucking hang out with, and he also did the fake Jim Carrey the other day. He was like a fake Jim Carrey mask, and everyone was like, "That's not Jim Carrey." And his name's Alexis Stone. And he does all these things where he dresses up as he does like Mrs. Doubtfire and stuff. Anyway, I actually kind of like that, but I don't know if that's like
that does sound, it sounds cool, but it's more like a gimmicky. It doesn't sound like high fashion, but it sounds like a cool gimmick. Yeah, it sounds.
Yeah, anyways. I mean, I like a bit of fashion. I think that's fine. I don't think you know, I don't think I'm like taking down the West by liking weird fashion. We've always had weird stuff, and in the 90s, especially when we were at peak like, you know, when the demographics were still okay, we had all sorts of weird art, and like we had a lot more like metal music and everything with that kind of aesthetic. So I don't really mind it as much. But I just thought Ollie London posted it as like a sign of the end of the world.
No, this is the kind of thing. Yeah. And this is why I wanted to talk to you, because you have that attitude, and it's a very difficult thing, because the whole purist right-wing business where the people think, you know, where things like that get pushed out, you know, like you mentioned metal music and things like that, where it's like I myself, and like I'm making these books and comics and things that have like these extreme gore and nudity, and I'm into all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of people that are and feel fairly normal for it. You know, it's not like, but then you're associated with the political scene, and you have all these people they're like, oh, that's you must be traditional this and that, but like I don't know, it's a weird battle you have to undergo, I
I
guess.
think there's like a space over there for it. Like it's like, okay, maybe don't shove it down if your followers aren't into it, don't shove it down their throats. But like I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not into that to try and fit in, because like number one, I'm too old for that, and number two, I don't think I'm alone in liking weird stuff. Like I think there's a few people that are right leaning that like that kind of stuff too. So I don't really see it as like something to be ashamed of, if that makes sense.
No, yeah,
Um,
it's a weird battle you have to undergo, and just like it's just strange. But I guess I can see why it is how it is. But like I don't
or
know,
like
if
for
the more you
instance,
can be,
sorry,
go
I
on.
was, you know that guy Cosmo, you know that meme of that big guy in that like fur jacket, and he's talking, and he's got a cigarette, and he's talking about like, so my dad was a Jehovah's Witness, and my mom was smoking crack and was always burning the. Do you remember that meme? And it's this guy, and he's just talking.
No,
And
but it
it's,
sounds great.
I think it's the thin white underbelly, and he's talking just about his mad family and stuff, and he's like he lives on Skid Row.
Thin
And
white
anyway,
underbelly. Thin white
yeah,
underbelly. Who was that again? I remember that.
it's
That's
that
you're
guy that
bringing up
does
the
all
past
those
here.
like
You're
black and white interviews with people. I think on Skid Row and like just
right. Oh,
characters.
that guy. Sorry. Of course, that guy. That guy. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
So
Right.
I'm a big fan of just like people like that as well. And even me and my boyfriend were really into like the Barbie film, weren't we? Everyone hated it. Sorry, I just walked in the room with the
I
baby.
never saw it.
Um,
I just assumed it was going to be. I'm not big on the feminism. I know you like you're partial to a bit. But what is it? A feminist film or is it not? I don't know.
I think it was just a wacky film. I think it was just like a wacky, silly, like over the top thing that I didn't put my serious hat on for it. I think that's a problem that I think the right do have, is that they put their serious hat on for everything, and they're like, oh, that's goy slop. Ugh, when a film's like silly and popcorn film. But I don't mind.
Yeah,
I
because
don't mind a bit of goy slop now and again. You know, if I'm going to
yeah, I
McDonald's, I know
know.
what I want. Sometimes I want something to be silly and stupid. So
I
there you
just
go.
yeah. This is exactly the problem. Like there needs to be like more like just there needs to be a distinction between what is normal and arty or just fun and like okay, and like the pure spiraling into total fucking everything must be
Yeah,
this or that, like
yeah,
because the reference to goy slop is perfect because people think, oh, you're being manipulated, you're being you're being brainwashed into believing this is okay and this is actually going to lead to this fucking degeneracy over here and all this. But it's not. I don't think it's necessarily so. The real degeneracy comes from it's something more, but if you see something and it makes you feel bad,
yeah. Like I
it,
feel like that way about drill music, which I don't know if your audience would know what that is, but that's like
what drill rap all rap
yeah.
music I personally discount. I'm like, no, that's not for me. I do not want, but yeah.
I also feel the same about those awful AI memes of like a British lion, and there's like a little white toddler hugging it, going, "Please
Oh
wake
Jesus.
up!"
Yeah.
And I feel like that's worse for me than the other stuff.
Yeah,
But
all
yeah,
AI
no, there's nothing
is
wrong with
bad.
having a bit of fun. Sorry, guys. They're like a little bit of fun. It's like, oh, what's that film? I'm obsessed with that film, The Hunt, that everyone thought was like an anti-Trump film.
I never saw
I
it.
don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
heard
you
about
remember.
this. Yeah,
Yeah, and I watched it
they're
thinking,
hunting.
okay,
They're hunting conservatives. Is that what they're doing?
yeah,
They're killing
I
them?
watched it
Yeah.
thinking, okay, I'm prepared to be kind of triggered by this, but it actually completes a complete turnaround surprise and has, I think, one of the coolest female lead characters in the world. That just came out of nowhere. I don't even know if she's been in anything since, but she just kind of gets thrown into it and ends up just not even
What I
being
thought it was that.
political.
I thought it was that Hillary Swank woman, wasn't it? Am I wrong? Why did I think it was her?
Some blonde girl. I actually have a feeling it might be Agent Smith's daughter. You know, Hugo. What's his face? I have a
Oh,
feeling it
all
might be
right.
her,
Yeah,
but I might be wrong.
Australian.
But anyway, there are just some things where, like the Bud Light thing, where everyone was buying Bud Light and shooting it, and I'm like, bruh, you know, there is like a silliness to the right where they don't help themselves. Sometimes they get a bit over triggered, or it's a bit too easy to be triggered by things.
Well, we just want a normal society and a normal scene where we can just behave like normal people. And when you see something that's creative and interesting, you don't just like freak out and run away. Like even the like. I think the best argument for what we're saying is in the pornography side of it. Maybe you might have more stricter views than I would, but like I
Yeah,
just
no,
think
I think it should be banned. Hate porn.
no, I
Sucks.
do too. But where is the line? Where is the limit? Like I'm okay with say tasteful nudes
Yeah,
and obviously classical nudity and things like this, right? So there is a kind of, you have to search for where the line begins. And like I said, I always think, well, if you see it and you feel terrible,
Yeah.
it's a good sign that it's, probably it is actually degenerate and awful. But like, I get a lot of people attacking me for, I post a picture of Bridget Bardot in a bikini and someone freaks out, oh, you're a fucking coomer and this and that. Like, I just think that's
ridiculous. No, I was
yeah.
sad when I mean, I don't like Bonnie Blue, for example. I think she's just a
No,
demon.
that's really bad.
She scares
Yeah.
me. She scares
As
me.
many
She
as
makes me
sex
feel
with as
sad.
many men, like thousands of men every month. I think, I don't know, fucking, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Make her a
And
celebrity.
it's
Yeah.
actively doing harm, I think, to society by promoting a horrible message. That's the thing. These people going to a fashion show and looking silly, they're not necessarily saying anything like society should look like this. They're just being a silly fashion show. She's going like, oh, what's the problem with this? Why should she's kind of promoting this idea
And
that
apparently
this is normal.
she's anti-immigration or something. Did you see that? Or did you?
She
She said something.
actions speak louder than words, Bonnie. I don't know.
I did see her saying something like that, like maybe supporting Tommy. Even I don't know.
Oh dear. I
But
think she was
anyway,
supporting reform.
oh, was she?
Terrible
Okay.
stuff.
Anyways, regarding your book, we're supposed to be talking about your book, and you
I'm
were
sorry,
saying
we're on a tangent.
you said at the start that you started you had like a diary basically. You were keeping like a girly diary thing, and then you thought, oh, this is shit. You said this to me before we went live, right?
Well,
so what?
yeah.
So based on where did you go from there then? When you're like, oh, this is fucking silly diary. What am I going to do? What happened then?
So it's like 2018. Tommy Robinson has kicked me out of the club for reasons that are written about in the book. I'm not allowed in the right wing anymore, so I'm in no man's land. I'm back at mum and dad's, having a bad time. And then we come back and work on one more project, and then all these false promises, and then it disappears, and then I kind of end up back in no man's land for a few years, and kind of annoyed, I guess, because yeah, it's just kind of everything about my character had just been torn apart by him by then. And he was like, oh, I fixed it, puts a plaster over it, didn't work. So I just went,
so everything about your character had been torn apart by him, you mean? Like by him or what? Or by no.
No,
Yeah?
by him. So by the same token, he has the power to make loads of his followers think that you're great by being like, oh, follow this girl, she's patriot, blah blah blah. And he can, in the click of a button, he can also say she's a traitor, she's mental, she's this, and they pretty much will just parrot exactly what he says.
Oh, okay.
So and
he did
if enough stuff gets said about you, people start believing it because it starts coming from all these different angles, and people that you met within the movement, they have this thing of like, oh, maybe they're a bit jealous and now she's down, I'm going to kick her as well. So it becomes this no smoke without fire, and people just assumed that I had malicious intent. So I was kind of in no man's land for a few years, and in that time trying to do projects, like I said, they kind of fall through because of various weird things happening, guys thinking that I was in love with them when I just wanted to work on projects, so that would happen a lot. And I had this book idea that was just floating around for ages, but I was kind of writing it as number one, just to kind of get it out like a diary, and autistically try and put all the dates in order and everything and try and figure out what went wrong. And then probably also this revenge thing of I'll show them, and wanting to get my side of the story out and all this. But it always just felt wrong. It felt wrong and it felt cringe, and I was like, I'm going to sit on it, and I was kind of too embarrassed to do anything with it for a while. And then I guess it was towards when I got pregnant and stuff, and then I started chatting with Lauren, funnily enough, and who happened to be writing a book. And I told her, well, I've got this one. It's sitting there half done, but I haven't really touched it for ages. And she was like, oh, send me some bits. So I sent her some bits, and she was like howling with laughter, saying, oh my God, this is great. You need to improve it. You need to get it out. So then
it is well written. It is engaging, and like I thought, like I didn't read it
thank you.
completely, but the bits I read, I was like, oh, what's going on? What's going to happen next? Who's this?
It was nice, and like she gave me some notes. I had some notes from friends, and I just had time to also just kind of leave it and come back to it, which I think probably helped. So all that anger that I had, I think I kind of settled it in myself first, and then I went back and I was like, right, let's picture each chapter kind of like a scene. If I was writing a Netflix, what would it look like? How would the people be standing? What were they wearing? I was trying to picture it visually, and then just kind of I would kind of unwrite it if that makes sense. I wrote it all autistically in order, a boring amount of detail, that was unnecessary. And then, pardon me, I'm just going to move my child.
Oh, you could have gotten more detail than some of the parts I read. I thought you could have. It was, yeah, no, but I wouldn't say.
There was so much that I just had to cut. There were some events that was actually 2 marches, months or weeks between each other, and I was like, well, no one cares. No one cares that there was one march in Birmingham and another one in Sunderland, and basically the same thing happened.
No, the only bits, the relevant bits are like either the characters themselves and your take on how they actually are, or what the drama of what actually unfolded between you and usually Tommy, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, and then that was what I did. I kind of tried to have a through line, and I would just keep writing, like I would get just a really boring A4 piece of paper and just be like, what am I saying in this chapter? Because it would be so much ping pong, this happened. And there were so many people that I had to just like take out because there's too many names and it got a bit too confusing. And, the right wing is, there's a lot of people in it, and there's a lot of side characters and a lot of side quests. And I was thinking, well, my dad might read this and be like, who the hell is that? Why do I care?
I didn't.
But then
you skipped over you skipped over the part at the end. Anyways, so there were what we had been your more recent activity you didn't bother with. Am I right in that you just could have ended with the Tommy?
Yeah, story. I kind of ended it. I suppose it was just sort of it's like breakfast at Tommy's or whatever, or like it just kind of it was just like, here's my time working with this guy, and here's why it kind of went and exploded. And then from then on, it's like that's just life. Like, I don't know if anyone cares about that. It's my life.
I don't want to give it away or anything either. I guess I shouldn't talk too much about it because I did read the sort of culminating thing, but that happened with him in the end. And what was your final kind of straw and all that shit, and what he did and all that. And again, I didn't find it personally surprising to hear that he would be just sort of, it's all about him, everybody else can fuck, he'll step over anybody or do whatever
exactly. And then I think I really wanted to be really cool and like just disappear, and like Laura did, and just like, go off into the distance and be like, my work here is done. and then Elon bought X and I got all excited again, and then I made an X account, and then I've just been tweeting furiously and probably too much. And
you got pregnant, so you had the time. Being pregnant is the best time to write a book, I guess, because you got fuck all else to do when you're.
No, exactly. You're just, and it, like I said, it feels nice to get it out and stuff. But yeah, so nowadays when I'm on the timeline and people are talking about Tommy, and I'll say my 2 cents, because I do think that his character, this is the thing that I do find a real problem with him specifically, and people around him and the people that are like him, is that there's this real pulling up the ladder thing that they do. And, he was talking about ethno-nationalist talking points all the way back in 2017, I guess, and promoting Martin Sellner. Sorry?
As a bad thing, you mean?
No, he was fully on board with it. That's the thing. I found I actually dug out a clip on I put it on Twitter the other day of when we sat down with Martin when he was first doing Generation Identity, and his activism, and he was talking about we need remigration, and we're going to be replaced in a few generations across Europe, the indigenous people. And Tommy's like, oh, I've got goosebumps, that's exactly what I think. so on the one hand you got that, and then on the other hand he also holds himself up as like, well, I'm the guy that stands in between like the actual far right, and if you don't follow me, then you're going to be a Nazi. And he just fits on people all the time from a distance, and maybe not sometimes publicly, but a lot of it is behind the scenes as well. And he'll just make sure that certain people don't get invited onto certain podcasts. He'll spread rumors, and it's just I just kind of hate that world, because while all that's happening, we have real crimes happening. That's the thing that really irks me. So that's like putting my serious hat on for a minute. Is maybe about nine years ago, whenever this was, like 8-9 years ago now, but there was the stirrings of this movement that we have now, but all the way back then. But the reason it kind of petered out was mainly because of Tommy's ego, and that's what really irks me, because I just think it's not really about you. Shouldn't have been about you. And you kind of took all of this energy and this good-natured stuff that all these people were coming together, and they were saying, right, we're facing the same direction, we're going to fight the government or whatever. and it just became, I'm going to get rid of all my people around me, and I'm going to get all these new people, these sycophants. I'm going to hire them. I don't know if you've seen this guy Richard Inman. He's been all over the timeline the
Yeah,
past couple of
I've
days.
seen him say very dubious things. I don't know what's
Yeah,
his story. Where's he from? What's I don't know anything about him. I just saw a couple tweets and I was like, holy shit.
he's like I think he's Northern Ireland. When we met him, he was in Belfast, and he ran something called
Is he?
Veterans Against Terrorism, which we always used to laugh, right? He came out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, Tommy, big fan, you know. I run the Veterans Against Terrorism. I'm actually kind of a big deal." And we used to joke at the time, like he doesn't look like a veteran. And when you picture Veterans Against Terrorism, you kind of picture lines and lines of old boys, you know, with their medals, and they're very stoic, and they're like, we
Yeah,
fought war to like stop this happening. Da,
like
da,
the
da.
Legion. Yeah,
Yeah, but
drinking
it
their faces
became
off.
like just Richard Inman and a poster. You know, it just became like this one guy, like
Is he
pub
even a
thumping.
veteran? Is it stolen valor? Is he even a
Yeah,
fucking veteran?
I'm not actually sure. The jury's out, but you know, and he'd
Mm.
just be in like a polo neck and just be like just Tommy's lapdog, and
Mm.
everyone was like, "Who's this guy?" So yeah, he kind of jumped in there around the time that we were working together, and I think he had a big part in ripping the team apart too. I think he had a big influence on. He was really feeding into that ego at the time, and I think it's like, oh, you know, these guys you're working with, they're all lefties, they're all middle class, they don't know what's going on like I do, mate. You know, I'm your mate, I'm your best mate. Get rid of them, work with me. I think that's pretty much what happened. And now he's just all over the timeline, just embarrassing himself on webcam. He's just got a really disjointed worldview, and yeah,
Yeah,
he's
that's
attacking
what I thought
people.
too. Yeah, yeah, I thought it was
Yeah,
terrible. But I don't get really the like how is Tommy faring with the particularness of his views? Does he still like? Because a lot of people hate him. It seems like I don't know. Is he more popular than ever, or is he?
I
How would
don't
you?
think I think in Britain he's people have moved past him. They've stepped over him to some extent, and especially like
Yeah,
the Steve Laws types and the Morgoths and the Millennial Woes. I think they all see through him. I mean, they have done for a long time, and
yeah,
I think they just see him as like a bit of a spent force. Um, so he's obviously in the States at the moment, right? And he's going around and speaking to people over there, like Laura Logan. I think he's just done, but yeah, I don't know. I think he's. I don't really think he knows what he's doing either, from what I can tell. You know, his worldview's all disjointed. He's jumping around all over the place, and he doesn't seem to
yeah,
want to just. Yeah, it's just intellectually inconsistent, and
yeah. That's
kind of
what like.
warmongering as well.
Yeah, like you can sympathize him with a certain degree, like when he comes out of prison and he's got the long beard and he's been tortured and this and that, and you're like, oh yeah, you know, he does make a good post a good tweet about what's going on in terms of like people getting raped and fucking killed and shit.
Mm.
But then he turns around and he has this horrific view where like there's a real distinction there, say between people that can see through what's going on with Trump and the fucking Iran, for instance, and he's like bomb them lads, like this is great,
Yeah.
this
No, I
kind of
saw that
shit.
bomb them lads, and you just think, okay.
Yeah, what is it? He doesn't see, or maybe he does. Like, I just think he's extremely, as you more or less conclude, he's in it for number one, let's say, in the end, and he's not to be trusted. There's people you can trust and people you can't trust. And the people you can't trust, or people you can trust, generally don't get as promoted as someone like him might be. Like, he's failing in his propaganda, I hope, anyways, but there's still,
Yeah.
these certain views that you have to, there's that distinction between like someone like him who just wants to focus on Islam, and that's the whole problem, as though there isn't this other angle to things, and then you're going to abandon your entire humanity and risk nuclear war across the earth to randomly attack a country, like they're doing now in the most heinous, ridiculous, unprovoked way, like just pure bullying and mania and blowing up
Yeah.
fucking school children and shit. And he's like, yeah, this is great, just because
Yeah.
he's zeroed in on the Islam, and there's a whole vast problem beyond that. He's
Well,
not
and there's
focused on.
also, I mean, I think people over here, especially like the normal nationalists, are just sick and tired of talking about foreign wars. Like we're just more interested in what's happening on the ground here. And finally,
Yeah,
I think finally the penny's dropped with a lot of people. Like, I don't know if you've seen, but all over my timeline at the moment, there's people posting "I am the face of modern Britain," and I think it's a response to Keir Starmer talking about the face of modern Britain, and in his words, I think it's like just a bunch of Pakistani Muslims or something. I think it's because it's Eid or Ramadan or whatever. He's going to all these mosques talking about like you
I
guys
don't
are
even know
British.
what's the Eid. Eid is when they start eating again. Is it? Is that how it
I
works?
should know. I feel like I should know living here, but I still don't
I think it's
know
almost
or care.
synonymous with Lent, or it sort of follows the Lent timeline. I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sort of whatever the fuck it is.
It's rammed down our throats on the one hand, but not actually explained to
It's
us on the other.
Ramadan or down our throats.
Ramadan down our throats. But yeah, there's all these people basically that the penny seems to have dropped. That we've got Shabana Mahmood, who's our Secretary of State, and she's going on television talking
hideous
about,
witch of a woman. I can't believe the look of her.
talking
She's like a
about
2-inch forehead with a fucking
yes.
really.
But yeah, talking about how ethnicity is like English ethnicity doesn't exist. It's just a vibe basically, and there's this whole confusion that people seem to have with the concept of ethnicity as a whole. And I get it, because again, as a normie, you just think, oh, I don't really want to go down the word ethno. You're like, ooh, dirty, it's Hitler. But we're all past that point of just like, it's people are saying it's like the trans debate. It's you are just an ethnicity. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean good or bad. It just means that you are something. So you can't just say I'm English if you have no English heritage. And now all these people on the timeline are saying, well, my family goes back 200 years and my dad fought in the war and and that's nice to see. I am happy to see that. And I think for a lot of people, the battle is here at home. It feels like that we're under a very horrible, nasty regime that's very threatening, and all of this propaganda that's being put out about young white guys, young white boys normally, and it's like, oh, I shared a meme, but I didn't realize that it was terrorism, and now I'm on a watch list, and that's not okay. And there's this real threat here that if you're pro putting flags up, if you're pro being English, that you're basically going to be put on a watch list. And I think people are more interested in that than foreign wars. That this is like prescient. We need to talk about that. So when you see people like Tommy banging on about Israel and Iran and stuff, it's just, I don't know, it just seems a bit read the room,
Yeah. And like people like our big sigh. People like ourselves that just wanted to be artists and things, and just noticed that the whole scene was a bit messed up, and that you can only be a certain kind of artist, or there's only certain kind of things got promoted. I mean, that's how I fell into all this nonsense.
We were saying yesterday once, because Morrissey just did a big concert here, and I was thinking that's such a nice omen, isn't it, for him to do like a sold out show in the, I think, the O2.
That's good. Yeah,
really great. But I was saying to my boyfriend, what happens when Morrissey dies? Who have we got left that's actually speaking out against the system? Because I'm a huge fan. We probably got Johnny Rotten, but how long is he around for? But
well, apparently this band in America is they're racist. I think. Obituary.
Oh, lovely.
Death metal band. They're Florida fucking racists apparently. But I mean, I don't know that for sure. They don't. But yeah, you're right. Who is there after Morrissey? Yeah, Morrissey. There must be somebody though. Remember Bowie used to do fascist stuff and all that. Like,
but he's dead.
He's long dead. Yeah, he's dead. I know he's long dead.
But yeah, no, all the bands that I always had this hope that some of the bands that I like, that from the Irish, there's some really good Irish bands at the moment, like post-punk bands. And there's me thinking, well, they're pro-Irish, they're pro-Irish flag. They seem to be against political correctness, but no, like they're all pro-Palestine. They're all doing these big anti-racist gigs now, but against the far right. And you just think, oh God, like, because the music actually sounds kind of right-leaning, because I feel like post-punk feels like a right-leaning vibe. I might be wrong.
In Ireland, nationalism is very confusing, and I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like I would be ostensibly pro-Palestine myself, only because of for other reasons. But I know, obviously, the Sinn Féin and the Irish nationalism is tied up basically with. How do they do it? I don't know. Like, you go to like a trad Irish music gig, generally they're basically Antifa, and it's all excused through, they associate the right wing with, I guess, British landed gentry.
There's still that anger.
Anybody who's like repressed and has been like the victim of empire is okay with them, kind of thing, or something. I don't know. It doesn't equate. you know,
But I've met quite a
problem.
few Irish nationalists that aren't that way, which is nice, and they know,
Yeah,
yeah, they know the writing on the wall and everything. But it's just sad because, you think of see this the other thing that I was thinking the other day. They put all of this under the banner of hate, right? About you guys put your flag up, you hate everything. It's the complete opposite because I love Ireland, I love Scotland, I love all these European countries that. And it just breaks my heart. I know a lot of people in America, they say they look at Britain and it makes them sad because we're kind of Anglo brothers in a sense, and Australia, places like that. And the reason that you feel sad about what's happening in these countries is because you love those countries, you love those cultures, you want to be able to visit and show your children and do all this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And you just see
yeah,
the same exact problem just playing out time and time again. You get all these well-meaning people not
yeah,
realizing the threat in front of them, and it's just on a very basic level some mad Afghan with a knife, and just that's it. you
and
know
it kills me that Afghans appear to be amongst the worst because they're like of all the various Muslim invaders, they're almost the whitest, but they seem to be like the most savage animals.
yeah, well, no, the hatred
So
is,
often, I mean,
I mean, the it's very hard again going from a left-wing idea in your head of just be nice to everyone and they'll be nice to you,
yeah,
to then
yeah,
there's a guy that I watch on YouTube. I think his name is Richard the Third, I think, and he's quite a good British YouTuber, and he talks about he lived in London he was in London Bridge at the time, and I think he was walking home and it was around the London Bridge attack. Some girl came running up to him covered in blood, going,
ooh,
there's a guy, he's got a knife, he's got a knife.
oh,
And he realized in that moment how vulnerable he was. Just, I am just in the street and I don't know where the police are. And apparently there's this guy with a knife running around. And I don't
mm,
think, it pains me to see these bands and these big left wing organizations choose love and all this stuff. And they have
yeah.
this idea that we're all National Action and that we're just Hitler. And on the flip side of it, you think, but you guys don't realize like how just basic this is. There are just madmen running around with knives and you're on your own in that when that happens, especially if you're a
And
young girl.
they're letting them off. The guy, even if he got convicted, he probably got out of jail in like like
Yeah,
give him a sentence of maybe a year or something or
yeah,
whatever. I've
yeah.
seen over and over again. I keep seeing this. I'm like, oh my god! Like you have to at least convict the fucking guy who stabbed somebody and raped somebody for
Well,
like a long
it's like a
time.
dark, it's like a dark joke now, isn't it? But they say there's almost just like a tax. If you come here and rape someone, well, you have to pay $500, and that's the tax. It almost feels like
Oh
it's
god,
like
it
a
is a dark
service at
joke.
this point. And apparently, the Telegraph published this. I think Alison Pearson. Apparently, the kind of refugee charities and stuff. The way that they call these men that are coming over in the boats, they call them customers. And there's just something so sick in that you just think like we know what that means and we kind of know what's inferred by that. And yeah, just the idea of just we're all just fair game. And maybe this couldn't have been solved 8 years ago when we were doing it, but this was what we were trying to raise awareness of. And that's the other thing that it kind of pains you, thinking we tried to raise the alarm about this so long ago and how many people have had their lives destroyed since then. And that's the thing that, again, just because some freaking right winger needed his ego into, needed to keep his
Yeah,
audience, we couldn't
yeah, you're right. That's
that's
how
why.
much of a letdown Tommy is because Tommy had the power to do a lot of good, and he didn't do it
Yeah,
really.
yeah. So I think there's this misconception around the writing of the book, and I have my pop shots at him and stuff, but I don't really care. I think it's good to, if revenge, they say it's drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So you can sit with your revenge fantasies, and you can be like, I'll show them, I'll show them. But it's not going to happen. And I don't really wish him any ill. I'm just like, you're a twat. But I don't think about it often. I might follow his shenanigans and have a chuckle
Yeah.
about it. And I'm not a big fan of him supporting Andrew Tate. I think he's an idiot for that. But in a way, I'm like,
You're not a big fan of his doing what? What with Andrew Tate? What do you do? I don't even
supporting
know.
Andrew Tate.
Okay.
There's this whole
What?
backstory of him, being on the side of Andrew Tate and being very nasty towards Tate's victims. And so those of us who believe the victims of Andrew Tate are like, well, this isn't very consistent for Mr. Anti-grooming gangs to
Yeah, the
be
Andrew Tate
pro
thing is
Andrew
another
Tate.
thing. I've never understood the Andrew Tate thing at all. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I think it's
I
just
don't even. I
he's
just immediately discounted him and blocked him and like I stay out of that world altogether. You can just see he
he
just seems
seems
like
to
a
have
kind
an
of
accent.
chav. A
Yeah,
mulatto chav.
well, they're both from Luton.
Like,
I think they knew each other from the old days. That's why. And he's got
oh,
this like
okay. So they
bias
are
towards
chavs.
him. But
That's the whole thing. See, it's the
yeah,
chav menace that we have to worry about.
but yeah, it just goes to show that. I mean, there was this whole thing with Tommy's son, right? Recently on the timeline again, he was posting all over Instagram. Here's me on a private jet. You're in row 62. I'm on a private jet, and he's posting with all these
Oh, for
Christian
God's
Dior
sake!
trainers.
See, that is chav shit right there. That is silly.
Yeah, they
That's
were like,
lowbrow
oh, his son's a
fucking
wigger.
shit.
But that's the other thing as
Wigger,
well. It's
yeah.
just the flexing and the, this whole idea of like the working class
Oh yeah,
hero, but then
yeah.
your son's doing that and you're impressed by fast, shiny car and dead-eyed European women that are basically sex slaves, and this isn't impressive to us. It's like
Yeah. Oh God,
traditional nationalist
I
people.
know.
It's, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
See, there's confusing things here. You know, there's a
Yeah, there's
right
mixed
way,
messages.
and why do we know the right way and nobody else does? I don't know. But like,
Well, look,
this confusing things, like, because Andrew Tate and Tommy are supposed to be right wing, but yet
yeah.
they're these wiggers and things, and there's fucking, it's like a
Exactly. I
boundary of
think just be
like, it's,
honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
just be honest. And the other thing that really confuses, like, more like middle class British people, I think, whenever I've talked to them, is the fucking shit about, they always bring up, lately I find anyways, either Cheddar Man or how actual British people are. It's so confusing to say you're British because it's fucking what. Oh, so what are you, Welsh, Saxon, Scottish? They always do this shit, and it's like, well, for God's sake,
Yeah.
all you do is look
Yeah.
at a documentary reel or a film from the 90s even of London, and it's like all just a sea of white people, and it's like, okay, well,
Yeah. I
come on.
mean, see, again,
It
I'm always
wasn't
trying to
so
think,
unclear.
how do
Sorry,
you
go on.
like explain it to these people, because they're being so disingenuous. It's like that millennial woes tweet, right, about the left wing just pretending not to understand what they obviously do
Yeah,
understand. Um,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
said something
Well,
the
no, I
other
don't
day,
know if they
right?
do.
Well, yeah,
What?
I don't. I think it's like they do when it's about their countries that they like or something, or themselves. But then with other people, they just don't like them. But
I think
I
some of
said,
them, the ones I've talked to, seem to have really absorbed that relativist idea that, oh, there was nothing there to begin with. It's okay, Some of them for sure believe it at some level, and it's just relative. This is kind of like,
well,
because
they have this kind of weird.
nothing's ever
It's all just
solidly.
land. It's just land. And we're just on
Yeah,
a ball of a ball floating through space. Who cares? Like, it's just very stupid.
yeah,
Just very stupid way of
yeah.
thinking about it. But in terms of ethnicity, right? I said this the other day as like a flippant comment, and then someone was like, that's actually quite a good way of thinking about it. I said to someone, if I did a cheek swab and sent it off to like 23andMe or ancestry.com or somewhere, and
Yeah,
and I didn't have any
yeah,
English in me, if I did the same thing but I put on a top hat and a monocle, would it come back more English? And obviously they didn't
yeah,
reply because they're fucking assholes. But that's the thing that we're trying to say, is that we do exist,
yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with wanting to remain the majority. And also, I would be quite happy with it just to go back 30 years. I mean, some people would say let's go all the way back to when it was 99% British, but English. But even 30 years ago, I would say was pretty homogenous and pretty safe and it was good.
Mhm.
It was okay. Obviously, in the northern towns, it was not. I would get rid of every single Pakistani family involved with that immediately. But
Mm.
even just that isn't a big ask, just to say, hey, do you remember 30 years ago? Because most people are like over 30 now, and it's like, do you not remember? Like, do you not remember walking down the street and not having to be worried about your phone being snatched out of your hand? Because even that feels like a relatively new thing. It's so common now that you really do have to be careful. When you're walking around in London, it's a real thing. And I think even 5 years ago, I didn't have that much for worry about it. And all the towns and cities, you've got vape shops popping up even in Cambridge, and Popeyes and all these kind of American shops. And it's just Deliveroo drivers, and it's all just very grotty. And finally
Yeah,
we're starting to see the rot has sunk in, but it's like, is it a bit too late?
it is too
But
late.
yeah, even 30 years ago, it was heaven on earth compared to this, and that's what really annoys me, where they're so disingenuous, trying to make it sound like that you're some neo-Nazi just for wanting things to go back to normal.
Yeah. Well, I think we
But
just have to live through the cyclone now. There's no. We have to survive it, and somehow,
we do,
whatever happens, we'll see what happens.
well, that's the thing. But we push on. But I just thought, at least with the book, at least that bit of history is encapsulated of, like, I don't know, it's also kind of the first wave of YouTubers going out and interviewing people about this in the street, which now is a really common thing. And I think it's great that people just go out and ask basic questions to people. It's actually very revealing when you go to Whitechapel and you say, why should we have a sign in Urdu? Do you not think that's weird? And they're like, there's nothing wrong with it. Blah, 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 blah. But this was all quite new back in the day when people like Lauren were doing it. I feel like it was fairly new. So anyway, it's just trip down memory lane, like this is what, this is how it started.
Yeah. And for everybody who remembers these characters, remembers this stuff that was going on, that's good little insider dirt on what was, I guess, really going on. And it gives you good insight onto people, these people that are still around, I guess, and who you can, assess who you can trust and whatever else. And
well, and I mean, also hopefully there's this, sorry to interject, but there's been so many liberal women journalists would always try and contact me and be like, oh, you're so hard done by, tell me about the far right, please. And they would always just turn it into some bollocks, just nonsensical thing.
Would they? What would they do?
They would try and make it sound like if you were a woman that went into the right wing, like me or Lauren or whoever, that you were voting for the leopards eating your face party, and so you kind of deserved it when you got mistreated, eventually mistreated. And they would make it sound like that we were brainwashed. We were brainwashed and we were stupid, and we had
they would make it sound like you admitted that to them or something like that.
Yeah. They just kind of have this idea in your head that's actually very, I would say, you could say very women hating idea that we have no agency whatsoever. We were all brainwashed into the evil far right. We were recruited to use as propaganda, and now we are begging them for help afterwards or something. That's how they always wanted to frame it. And I thought, at the very least, now you can read women from the right in their own words, and it's actually the complete opposite. It's actually, if you read Lauren's book, there's also Brittany Sellner's got a book called Patriots Not Welcome that I shot the cover for. That's very good. It talks about her and Martin Sellner and all the stuff that they've been through just by being nationalist in Europe. But it's the complete opposite. It's just young women saying, I'm actually going to make a stand that's actually very socially difficult to do, but I'm going to do it because it's important. And here's all the risks involved. And some of it's actually kind of cool. It's almost like spy work. It's traveling the world. It's going for secret meetings. It's trying to figure out how to, fight the government, which the feminists, I think, like to think they're doing, but they're not. But I like that idea that there's a few now, like little books written by women in the right in their own words that aren't apologizing for it. I think that's quite important.
That's great.
They just don't want us to. They want us to be silly little victims.
Yeah, that's what I loved about even your cover. You're like, if you expect this to be I regret joining the far right or whatever, you're wrong. And then there's a line of cocaine. Well, that's excellent. That is excellent.
Yeah.
Job, But I better go. I actually have to go. So, I mean, it's been very insightful about your book and the state of things. No? What do you think?
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm very grateful, and I'm excited to see what your audience think. I don't know. Are they mainly Americans?
Oh, I don't even know. Probably. But like I said, normally I do it on like a Friday and late at night. But we'll see. I don't know. Like my YouTube, I have a lot of following on X and Facebook and these places, but I don't. My YouTube doesn't have a huge following, so it'll only have a certain amount of views. Sadly, I'm sorry to say, but
I'm always curious how much the Americans know about the British side of things, because obviously we've got different parallels. You guys had like the alt-right, you had Jan 6, you had Fuentes, Spencer, all these people, and then you've got like, I don't know how much they actually know about the Tommies and the.
Well, they know. No, anybody who's involved in all this shit remembers all this stuff and follows it for sure. I mean, I pissed off a lot of Americans lately because I'm so against what Trump is doing right now, I guess. But they still, I probably majority Americans, I would guess. I'm just people from all over. It's the usual thing. Like, there's only so many of us that are able for this shit.
Well, anyone
around the world,
and anyone that's a patriot is a friend, as far as I'm concerned. Whether they're like a Christian waving around a Bible, or like the weird goth guy, the weird goth guy that's been posting recently. I don't know if you've seen him. The guy with like a face full of face paint and stuff. But it doesn't matter. Like we're at a precedent, and I think it's important to be honest. Yeah. And work together.
And let me say congratulations to you on having your child. You're fulfilling your duty, your genetic duty. So to the future, you've entered the future. Well done. Congratulations.
No, he's the best.
Yeah. So everyone buy Lucy's book, and that's it. I gotta go.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye, Lucy. Bye, everybody. Bye.